where I am today is allowing myself to be in the confusion, the complexity, and the longing that I like deeply desire to be in love and to be loved and to have, I mean, this is the truth. Like I've gotten really clear. I want that so bad again. And I want it to include like the most hottest, exploratory, expansive, universe blasting sex life with them and other people. And I don't want it to feel enmeshed, and I don't want to move into a level of partnership that I'm not ready for. That's where I'm at. I am currently allowing myself to be in the longing of these things and how they kind of don't always make sense or aren't easy to have.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 386. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a wonderful conversation with Dani. Dani, as you'll see, strongly identifies as polyamorous, and she feels like she was born this way. However, she's only been practicing polyamory for about the last 3 years.
Yeah, as you'll hear today, Dani's sort of in this self-proclaimed midlife crisis era where she sort of blew up her life and is rebuilding it from the ground up after coming out of a 16-year monogamous marriage. And today she takes us on her beautiful journey of finding herself, figuring it out, and learning a whole bunch along the way. We absolutely love this conversation, and we hope you enjoy it as much as we did.
Dani is also a coach, facilitator, writer, speaker, and host of the podcast Another Way. You can find links to all of her work under the podcast show notes in your podcast player or on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com.
And just to clarify, you can also find a link to the YouTube video she talks about later in the episode. You'll know which one I'm talking about. It's pretty obvious, and it's an amazing.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's amazing. So definitely check out all those links. And also, you'll hear Dani talk about how she is part of the team that is putting together the Bonobo Retreat, which is part of the Bonobo Network, which we're going to take a moment to talk about real quick because we're actually going to be at the retreat, and we would love to have some of you come join us there.
We're super excited about it.
Yeah, so the Bonobo Retreat, well, first, let's talk about the Bonobo Network. The Bonobo Network is an online community rooted in real world and virtual events where people can learn together and from one another about sexuality, pleasure, and relationships.
It is based out of San Francisco, but available to anyone.
Yep. It's a lot of what goes on are parties and events here in the Bay Area. And the Bonobo Retreat is not a whole lot different. It is about 2.5 hours east of the San Francisco Bay Area. And it is held at this beautiful retreat center over Memorial Day weekend, May 23rd to the 26th, 2025. It's 4 days, 3 nights, 3 sexy play spaces, one hell of a good time, tons of sensual workshops, pool parties, epic entertainment, and lots of magical play, both euphemistically and, your good old-fashioned play.
We are super excited to be joining the retreat for the first time this year, and we're going to be hosting a speedfriending event to kick off the weekend, so we would love to have you come join us.
And if it sounds like maybe we're reading some of this from a website, that's because we are.
Yes,
and that's actually the best place to go and get information. First, if you want to learn about the Bonobo Network, you can go to bonobonetwork.com, or if you want to get right into the retreat information, go to bonoboretreat.com. And yes, of course, all of these links are in the podcast player show notes on our website at normalizingnonmonogamy.com, the same place you'll find all of the links to Dani's work.
For anyone who's a premium subscriber, we're going to jump right into the interview with Dani now. And for anyone else, we're going to go through a few announcements. First up, if you're not familiar with the premium subscription, it's a way to skip these announcements up front. But don't worry, you still get important dates of upcoming events in the outro. To sign up for the premium subscription, go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, scroll down on the homepage, and you can sign up right there for only $4 a month.
Next up, we want to talk to you about our community, which, don't be confused, our community and the Bonobo Network are not the same community.
They're similar, but they're not the same.
And we're part of both.
We are, yes.
So, a few quick updates about our community. We tell you about it every week, but we've got some really fun updates for you this week. Over the last few months, we've been hosting virtual workshops in our community. They've been taught by incredible educators from around the world about all sorts of different topics. And those workshops used to be an additional cost, but now they are actually rolled right into the price of our community. So now, for less than $10 a month, you get all of the things we tell you about every week for our community, and you get these incredible workshops. The next workshop we've got is coming up on April 9th. It's going to be hosted by Dr. Evelyn Dacker and is going to be on her STARS talk. And then in May, we've got Dr. Jolie Hamilton coming in to teach a workshop on befriending jealousy. And after that, we've got an incredible line of different educators coming in every month to teach workshops for our community. And we would love, love, love to have you come check it out. To see the full list of workshops we've got coming up in 2025 and to see all of the other incredible things you get when you join the community, head over to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Click on the community tab and you will see it all there. And we'd love to have you come check it out and join us.
The last thing we wanted to remind all of you about is our favorite way to get tested for STIs. It is stdcheck.com. It is super fast and efficient, kind of the same thing, but it's efficient and it's discreet. It's the service
you can be fast and inefficient.
That's true. That's true.
And you can be slow and efficient, but not this. STD Check is fast and efficient.
Yes, and discreet.
And discreet.
It's the service that Finn and I use. We've been using it for years, and we'd love to have you check it out as well. If you use the links over on the resources tab of our website, you save $10, making a 10-panel test only $129, and you support the podcast. So thank you so much in advance for using those links, and thank you to anyone who's used them in the past as well.
And the last thing you can do while you're over on our website, after you've checked out the community, after you've checked out the show notes, after you've gotten your STI testing done, you can head over to the Contact Us tab, send us an email, send us a voicemail. We'd love to have your feedback, and we'd absolutely love to have you come on the show to share your story. This podcast doesn't exist without it, and we'd love to have you come on.
And with that, let's go and talk with Dani. Welcome to the podcast, Dani. We're excited to talk today. Thank you so much for being here and for joining us and sitting down and diving in.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here.
We would love for you to start by just introducing yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Dani O'Brien Buckley, and the way I would like to introduce myself is that I am in a self-proclaimed midlife crisis era.
A whole era.
Yeah, an era. It feels like an era. Yeah. It might never end, actually. But I have been the last few years really just blowing up everything in my life, reevaluating everything. So giving like a bio and description of who I am today can feel hard because, I used to be a lot more static, right? Mm-hmm. We'll get into some of that related to polyamory and my previous marriage, but I am a coach, a facilitator. I'm a writer. I love public speaking. I do a lot of that. I'm a poet. I'm a friend, a lover. I care a lot about sharing stories with the world. It's like my passion. I have a podcast called Another Way. And I write a lot publicly and share a lot of personal essays and stories. And that's something that I really love to do. I'm also a business consultant, the least fun part, but also I kind of love it. And I work with a lot of clients who are like alternative weirdos. That's the world I'm in now. So that's fun. I live in Berkeley, California now, in a communal living for the first time.
Home of the alternative weirdos, I think.
Yes, very much home of the alternative weirdos. I found my spot. I'm from Orlando, Florida, which I just got home from. Which is a whole other kind of weirdo, but
homes on multiple coasts.
Yeah. But I got that in me too. And so that's and I'm part of a lot of really beautiful, awesome communities here in the Bay. One that's relevant to our conversation today is the Bonobo Network. And I'm also supporting them with like marketing and parts of producing the upcoming retreat at the end of May that I'm really excited about. So I just want to mention that too.
Yeah. Amazing.
Awesome.
Doing amazing stuff. And just for anybody listening too, we're going to be at that retreat.
We
and
are.
We probably talked about that in the outro. We'll talk about intro. And we're going to talk about it in the outro. But yeah, we're super excited to talk today, Dani, and to get your story out there in the world and the work you do. And we'll definitely circle back to it all more in a little bit and share about it. But before we do, maybe I mean, it sounds like it's been a lot of flux lately. So maybe the best place to start is like, where have you landed today? Knowing that probably by the time this comes out versus the day we recorded, it might be different. But where did you
Yeah.
land today? And then we're going to go back and figure out how in the world we got here.
Yeah. Where did I'd like the listeners to know that, like, we don't actually get all these questions in advance or something. So
That's true. Yeah. Valid point.
so they're not, I'm not,
There's no
yeah,
script here. There's
no
no
script.
script.
Yeah, there's no script. Yeah, here we go.
Winging it.
So where I am today, I strongly identify as a polyamorous human. I believe that I was born this way. I am single, which is weird and funny. I pretty much, as long as I've been actively moving as a poly person, because I was in a 16-year monogamous relationship, which we'll get into, and was in monogamous relationships only before that. So it's only been like 3 years that I've been practicing polyamory, and I've pretty much been single that whole time. So it's funny because I feel like feels like I have my own things of like, oh, I don't get the full poly card. Like I haven't had anyone, right, that like I would say is a partner. I have had many, 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 many diverse relationships that are why I believe in polyamory, many lovers, many complex friendships, like all the things. But yeah, I'm a single poly person, and I am figuring it out. That's where I am today. I'm currently my coach says, you're in the dojo. Like I missed 16 years from 20 years old to 36 years old. I missed out on a lot.
Yeah. And now it's figure it all out.
Yeah.
And like while you're in it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not like pull the car over and stop, but like we got to figure it out while we're driving down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
And I'm a fast learner.
Yeah?
I feel like I've done a lot in 3 years. Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm excited to dig into that.
So excited.
Yeah, I'd love to back up a bit and go back to the beginning, you know, as a growing up kind of, and what was it sounds like you kind of had this vision of yourself that wasn't leaning towards monogamy, but maybe didn't know any differently.
Yeah.
What was that like at that time in your life?
Yeah. So when reflecting back now, right, what I know now and can see, I don't think that I even thought of or even oriented towards non-monogamy, like in like my teenage or like youth years. Like I was definitely kind of like a serial monogamous, because truly I did not know it was an option. Like I didn't even know polyamory, the word, probably until like maybe 10 years ago or something, really understood it. So where I see it all like was part of me is this. There's a couple areas. One is like, I just have been a very, very, very like sexual person my whole life from a young age. And so I noticed like in between those times that I had monogamous relationships, I like kind of went crazy and really enjoyed it. And I got really, I had a lot of sadness and confusion, and like, even in my like little short monogamous relationships, like in high school and early college, that were like the fire went out really quick, right? Sexually. And that was really hard for me. Yeah. And so that's a piece that I think is important when I look back. And then also just, I feel like I've related in friendship in a very poly way. And so what I mean by that is that like, I have just always had a very, very large capacity for a lot of connection in my life. I have been someone who's always, it's like been a joke my whole life that like, I have like 10 best friends, but like legit, like, and many of those people, I'm the only person they consider maybe their best friend. But I just have a very high capacity for nurturing and maintaining a lot of different types of connections, and wanting them all to be allowed to be unique and different and that not be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's a depth there that maybe you look around and other people aren't, like maybe they have that with one or two other people, but it seems like you're like, I can go deep and it can be complicated, maybe not complicated, but complex. It could be layered in a way that most people don't see friendships.
Yeah. And I think layered and also like evolving. I think I've always had this way in which, and it's like a strong philosophical belief for me and how I am, is that like most relationships aren't meant to stay the same or last forever.
Mhm.
And I just have a lot of acceptance with that and have moved in the world like that. So like, I have many friends, like just going back home to Florida last week, like people who literally have the same group of friends since high school, a lot of people, and that's fine. And that's like what works for some people. And it's just not who I am. Right. And so, yeah, I think that's a piece to it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's, I don't know, just like feels relatable. And at least for me in this, where there's this, when I meet new friends, it's sort of this, it's not like it has to go somewhere, but there's always this part of my brain that's like, I don't want it to feel like it can't
Yeah.
be something. And not that it's like, oh, I hope it does or it has to, but just, I don't want to be limited to like, what is the possibility that this friendship could be just because of some outside force that says it shouldn't be.
Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like you just summed up my like like values around polyamory, which is that like I don't want anyone or anything, any structure, system, human relationship, anything to tell me what to do and how I can be in connection with other people. So a big piece of my polyamory is I have a very, very strong like autonomy value system. And yeah, and like it's that drives a lot in my life. And like I want every human I meet, like I like the possibility, like you said, and now we don't know, and we don't have to know, and why do we have to figure it out? Why do we have to put people immediately in like the romantic or sexual box or the friend box or whatever? This doesn't feel quite accurate to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can be in multiple boxes. Those boxes can be inside of each other. They can,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. But back when you were a teenager,
Yeah.
you didn't know any of this.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know any of it. Did not know any of it. I feel like there was some show on HBO or something. I wish I could remember what it was. I don't remember. But it was a documentary show, and I don't remember what it was. But that was like the one thing that I remember watching, being like, what? Like, and it struck a chord with me. I wish I could go find it, but yeah.
Yeah, well, but and it sounds like even with that, and even with, and maybe it sounds like even feeling some of this, like just the way you were relating, yet you still wound up in a 16-year monogamous marriage going down the, what I think is often the like, this is the path we're supposed to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, so I met my ex-husband, now ex-husband, and who I want to tell everyone because I'm really proud of it. We're incredibly close. We've been divorced a little over 3 years, and we have I feel like just killed it at divorce. We should get awards. And it's beautiful, and we love each other, and we are committed to being family for the rest of our lives. And he is not poly. He is not he doesn't, I think he is more than he realizes, just like the fact that he's done this conscious uncoupling so beautifully. I'm like, I joke with him that like, but truly, it is just like we have made I just want to say that that we are very close. And I checked in with him before this call because I want to note that because he's a big part of my story.
Yeah.
And also his parts of the story are not mine to share always. And so I just want to reference that, and that's okay.
No,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm so glad you did, because as you were saying that, I was going to say, and you checked in with him before we did this.
Yeah.
And we love letting people know that, there's consent on
Yes.
all parties here to be doing this, and what the ways you're going to share and how you're going to share. And so this, while we don't feed everybody the questions ahead of time, we do make sure that it's comfortable for everybody involved. So
Yeah.
glad you told us all that.
Yeah. So, okay, let's get to the stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny and interesting. I mean, I think it's very funny and interesting. So I was 20 when I met Scott. He was 38. So he's 18 years older than me. And I was his intern. It was like a really hot, fun. We worked in radio, a classic rock radio station. And like, it was just like a really hot, fun, fiery connection. And it was a secret.
Mhm.
Because he didn't want to get fired.
Yeah.
And then we like fell in love, and then it was no longer a secret. We actually we worked together for 5 years, like at the same company, and everyone knew about everything. It was all on the up and up from the get-go. We had conversations without having any of the language or knowing, but was like when he met me, I was like a wild little slut, like living it up. And we, naturally went into a monogamous relationship because that's what you do. And I just remember, from early on talking about, I can't imagine that you're going to be the last person I ever have sex with again. Like, I'm only 20. Right. And so that was like conversations we had, and just both were like, he's like, yeah, I agree. He's like, and I was like, and you had 18 years of being like never in any major relationships either. Like, he was like a kind of a playboy and like local celebrity and had all this fun and did all these things. And I was like, this doesn't seem fair. And he was like, I agree. Like, we would talk about it. And we didn't know what that meant or what was possible, but it was like always just like kind of on the table that like, yeah, we could talk about that one day, because that doesn't seem quite right. Like,
Yep.
So it's interesting. And yeah, we got married. We did all the things that were pretty typical. I mean, I've always still been not like a conventional person. So, but I did, whatever. We ended up moving to Seattle. So we're doing the monogamy thing, and we're happy. We're married. We're doing all this stuff. And we end up deciding to move to Seattle, which was about, I guess, like 11, 12 years ago now. And I never lived outside of Florida. We met in Florida where I'm from. He had lived all over, all these things. So it was a beautiful, exciting time. We did that and had that whole experience. And right after I moved there, and this matters to the story, I think. My dad died unexpectedly.
Sorry.
And within a month, we found out Scott had cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I was 29. So this is 10 years ago, and a little over 10 years ago. And it was a lot. And I say this because the year after that, my 30th year was like a big transformational year for me. Scott got through the cancer-free, has been cancer-free. Great. Dad's still dead. That sucks, but we moved through that. And I and I started doing a lot of personal development, a lot of deep work in a lot of those retreats. And the organization that I was a part of was down in the Bay Area. So I started coming to the Bay a lot. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm learning, I'm healing, and finding myself in a lot of new ways. And a lot of the people I start meeting and becoming friends with in the Bay are very sex positive. Some are poly, some are this. And so that matters, because this is like the point of the podcast, is that like, I didn't know anyone who was poly up until, and even then I'll say maybe like 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And that started to change things, and not drastically. It's just like planted the seed again of like, oh, people do this that way and that,
Well, and at a time in life too, where, I mean, just going through a huge, a loss of your father, the fear of, in navigating cancer and treatment with Scott, like I mean, to me, I've gone through pieces of this in my life, and you come out, at least I come out with this like, shit, I need to live the hell out of life. Like, who am I? What am I? What's possible? It's not that like what I have is bad, but it's just, for me, it's like, it stirs up this like, what am I missing?
Yes.
I must be missing something.
Yes. 100%. Right. Which is the beautiful part of those like breaking down, shattering parts in life. Right. I think, because it's just, it gives us perspective. And so the truth is, and this is the part that I'll just acknowledge that like feels vulnerable and hard to share publicly, but it feels important because I know how common it is, which is that we were in a long-term monogamous relationship and like we didn't have a big sex life anymore,
Yeah.
And that is normal and typical.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what to do about it. And the thing is, like, we started out so hot, so it was like, it was confusing to me because it wasn't like, oh, we never had like the chemistry or the compatible, but we didn't know what to do with it. So I think that's an important piece to note. And as years go on, getting to around like 2018, 2019, we start thinking we might want to move to the Bay. We had a lot of community down here. And as much as we love Seattle, we were dying without the sun. It's just the truth.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Yeah, especially coming from Florida.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big piece. Yeah. So, and just the communities that were building down here, were just really special. And I'm not, and they were not yet the sex positive communities at all that I'm talking about. They were, just like people who have done a lot of work and therapy. And like, it's like, oh, like you can have friendships that like people know how to communicate in healthy ways. And like, there's depth and intimacy and like, oh, this is like, it was a whole new, beautiful way of relating that I wanted more of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we move here, 2020. We had it all planned, guys.
Oh, it's always 2020.
Oh.
Every time I talk to somebody these days, they're like, we did this big thing and it was 2020 January. And we're like, that's not a good time.
Well, let me tell you, our move was planned for the first week of April 2020.
Oh, shit. All right.
Yep.
Here we go.
We are packed up our whole house and March, and we're sitting there watching the news. We had to cancel our going away party. We're like, what the fuck is happening? You know?
That's right, because Seattle was sort of the initial one of the episodes.
Zero. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Totally.
I'd blocked so much of that out. Thanks for bringing it back up, Dani.
Yeah. We were like patient zero or whatever, right?
Yep.
And yeah, it was nuts. And what I think is important about my story here is that, yeah, so much of like what I was excited about moving to the Bay was just like this community, but there was a piece of it that was the sex positive and the polyamory. It was small, but it was like the seeds were planted. And I was like, oh, there's like so many more things to explore down there that I felt like open and excited about, and just like community and all these things. So we get down here. Okay, like 2020 is going to be this like year of expansion and exploration. And then like, it's like Tim and I are locked in a house together alone, you know, which luckily we really liked each other and get along. And so it wasn't so bad. Yeah.
So you did move. You did move to the Bay.
We moved.
And you got stuck in a house together.
Yeah.
Moving to a new place. You did have community down here, but it's COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And then I guess really what matters that I want to share right now is that the next like 2 years, 2020 and 2021, we just, moving, COVID, like all the things, we just got clear that our marriage wasn't working for us. And we loved each other. And it was like the hardest thing to walk away from because it wasn't bad. There wasn't anything wrong. Like it was fine, Yeah. And I can only speak from my perspective here, which is that it wasn't enough for what I want in a life partnership. I wanted more romance and sex, and that's the truth.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think there's so much. I mean, we hear this often from people, right? It's not. Yeah, there wasn't anything bad. There wasn't. Oh, this is the worst. It's just it was fine, and maybe there was this desire for something more. There's that little bit of that fire of like, oh shit, what? Like you kind of said earlier, like a midlife crisis-y moment of like, oh, well, what am I going to do? What is next here? So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that and the honesty around that, because it's life. It's real.
And it's normal.
Yeah.
I feel like those relationships are hard to like actually shift.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because you can be in this space that you're like, well, we're not exactly sure, but we're like, because it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
And in some ways it's comfortable.
So comfortable, so secure. I laugh because I, was getting into all the attachment style stuff in like 2018, 2019, 2020. And like everything I took and all the tests and everything, I'm like, I'm secure. Well, let me tell you, when I got single, I learned that I am not secure. I just was in a pretty secure relationship.
Not to be confused with one another. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really, really real. That was a real. Well, yeah, we can get into that in a minute. So, and so, yeah, it was like he, Scott's my best friend. We're amazing roommates. We're family. All this stuff, and what I want to own is that I think I was just at a point in my life that the truth is what it really came down to is like I wanted to be single. I wanted to have the experience of being a single adult, not just in the like, oh, that I can date other people, but in the like, I can live alone and I can buy the groceries I want and figure out what I want to do with my time and when I want to go to sleep. Like, it was just like, it started to hit me real hard that I wanted to be alone and I wanted to be single and I wanted to like find myself. And I think that's a really important part of my journey, and why I think that I am, when I mentioned at the opening that have been single really and haven't had partnership, there's a part of me that longs to like be in love again right now. And that's like a big part of my current, what's coming up this last year is like, okay, I'm like ready to be in love. Like, I want to feel that. And the truth is I'm not ready for partnership. And I have intentionally not been in partnership the last 3 years. And so like in a lot of ways I'm kind of solo poly. I don't feel like I don't plan to stay solo poly, but from the understanding and definition of it, I am actively choosing that right now.
Yeah. I'm curious. This is an interesting topic because I'm curious. The I want to be partnered, or I want to be in love, but I don't necessarily want to be in a partnership. And I'm curious for you,
Or I'm not ready.
or I'm not ready to be,
Yeah.
right? And this is in no way a challenge, because I think those can be very separate things. But I'm curious for you, what does that mean? Sorry.
No, I love this question. It is like the main topic of all of my therapy and coaching and everything right now. Cause it's so I'm glad you asked. It's very complicated and
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. You know, I think that what I mean and what I'm trying to figure out is that I think I might be really scared of the word partnership. And then I think that I'm still learning that there are versions of like a partner within polyamory, you know, that are available that aren't available in the monogamous world, right? And I'm still scared of it. I have a big fear of enmeshment, and I have a big fear of the relationship escalator. And so, yeah, when I say like I don't want partnership, it's probably not true. It's just like I don't want a nesting partner. I don't want to get married again. I don't want like some big commitment that like that scares the hell out of me. Like, I would love to have like a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I want to be in love, and I want to like, obviously there's levels of commitment and things involved in that, and like all of that. I'm not like looking for like no strings attached being in love. That's not possible. I'm incapable of that. But like, yeah, what I want is like for the feelings to be allowed without the relationship escalator. Without the unconscious relationship escalator, right?
Yep. Yeah. We had a great day and things are going well. That means it goes to this and this and this and this, and it's pretty soon it's just completely, you know, blown up into something that you maybe weren't ready for, and maybe not that you're even opposed to, but it happened like almost so fast and so automatic that it didn't. Yeah,
and it happens so much in polyamory too. This is not a unique to monogamy thing at all.
No.
We just have like different escalators, right? Like a lot of different ones, but like it's and I want to own and admit that like I do it. Like
totally.
I recently had a big, you know, lovership that I grew a lot. I was like falling in love with this human, and we were really clear from the get-go that we were not going to be partners, that we're not available for that we're not. And I wanted more, you know, but I wanted to consciously decide what more was. I wasn't trying to like, you know, whatever, wife him up, but like, but I was assigning meaning to things so unconsciously, and you know, and obviously it's a lot more complicated than that. But like, I just want to own that, like, it's really hard,
totally,
to not get on the escalator when feelings are involved.
Yeah,
totally.
Well, it is really hard, and that's what I love you when Finn first asked that question, and you kind of said like, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I'm figuring it out. And that's a perfectly good place to be. Even it may be frustrating, right?
Yeah.
But like part of this is the journey, and noticing what just happened with this person and what you're wanting, what you're not wanting, going through the process. And
No, I was actually thinking exactly the same thing you just said, Emma. Like, even if you had stopped your statement after I don't know, I'm like, great, I mean, I think I just want people to know out there too, right? That we don't know, that we're still figuring this out, that you're figuring it out, and you're still here. We're still doing it, and we're just trying to do it the best we can, and we're messing it up, quote unquote, messing it up, right?
Yes.
What you said too about like, well, I still started ascribing meaning to things, and it's almost impossible not to, right? Because it's not that you don't want those things, it's that you want them in a specific way, and it can be really hard to know, like, is this the way I want it or is it not? And I don't know unless I try. It's messy. Relationships are messy.
Yeah. Oh, they're so messy. And it's like, I love that you're kind of saying this. So one thing I did do to prepare for this podcast was like, what are some of the like messages that feel important to me around my experience of polyamory? And a big one is that I think like it's so like when none of us know. Like I don't know anyone. I know people. I got an amazing community of people like of people who've been practicing polyamory for 50 years. Like I've got people who have the most amazing, beautiful, successful marriages with children and that are like super kitchen table and have these amazing polycules. Like, and then I've got all the other stuff too, right? I feel so exposed to so much. And I think the thing that I've learned that I have to like remind myself of is that it's not static.
Mm-hmm.
It does change. We change what we need and want changes, and what we learn and it's all kind of an ongoing experiment, and that it's okay, and that like the relationships we're in will change how we are, right? It's not like it's just, and I think it's so important to kind of always have a little bit of a beginner's mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know question, like I even say to some people when I talk about my polyamory is that like I have to stay open. I don't think it's true. I think I was made like this and I think I'm going to be all right. But I have to stay open to the fact that I might fall in love, get into a partnership, and not want to be in an open relationship because I haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to beat myself up if that's what happens. And I don't want to like unconsciously have that happen, right? Just because of like NRE or because of whatever. But I also like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We can consciously make those decisions and they can change over time.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I love that. Just the, we're always in flux. We don't know. And it just, like you said, I haven't done this, so I don't know what's going to happen when I do it. And I think that's amazing. And I'm curious so you come out of your marriage, and what do you do at that point? Like, what did that launch you into?
A whole lot of swiping.
Well, in this time frame wise, this would have been 2022, right?
Yeah.
So you're coming out of a marriage. The world's coming out of a pandemic. I feel like everybody's got a groove swiped in their screen.
Yep. So I both joined the Bonobo Network, which is a sex positive community that introduced me to a lot of things around polyamory, non-monogamy, but also like sexuality, kink, like things like that was really, really valuable to me to like find myself in my own sexuality. I never identified until now as queer, and I absolutely am, and still figuring all that out. and yeah, there was so much I didn't know. And dating apps didn't exist last time I was single.
Yep.
So like, pardon my crudeness, but it was like, oh, like dick on demand. Like you can just order a date. And not to like over gender it, but that's a lot more true for women.
I'm glad you said that, because I know you pissed off a whole lot of guys out there when you said that, because it's the thing that comes up so often is the imbalance there. And it's amazing. I mean, in one sense, right? Amazing. And in another, like the whole system is broke as fuck.
Yeah, totally.
But so you're in the dick on demand era. Swipes. Well, if I want some, I'll get some.
Here, I'll actually tell you what I actually really called that era, because I gave a talk on it.
Okay.
It's on YouTube. It was an Ignite talk, if anyone's familiar with Ignite.
Mm-hmm.
And it was called Insights from the Dick Funnel. And so, as a career marketing and sales consultant, there's a lot of funnels, right? We use marketing and sales funnels. And what I realized really quickly was that this was all a numbers game, you know? And so it was, because my goal was actually, my goal has never been and never was like one night stands. I'm just not really made for that. Some things ended up being one night stands because we just decided we didn't want to see each other, but I'm not like, let's go to the bar and meet someone type of person, or let's just like have a one night stand. Nothing against that. It's not a moral thing at all for me. It's just, I learned quickly, those just aren't peak sexual experiences for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have good sex, for me. And that's not how I got it. So yeah, what I was looking for was loverships. Like I wanted to find people who could be like ongoing kind of like lovers that I could explore my sexuality and get to know over time and have great sex and like, you know, be in that type of relationship with. And to do that, you got to go on a lot of first dates. and so yeah, dick funnel era. Which has ended for now because I'm tired. The last year or so, it's like been a lot, and my needs and things have shifted, you know. But that's what happened a lot. Was right then I was like, I just wanted to find myself sexually was a big piece. And so what's interesting, I think is important to note is that for me, like initially, even in my marriage, when I was like even just like discussing or thinking about non-monogamy, it was always because I wanted to be able to have sex with other people. It was that like, I want to have other sexual experiences. I want to like be able to like, I don't want to be limited to that. What I learned personally really quickly was that that's not actually the main thing that I'm looking for and wanting. It's a big piece to it, but I have a very strong need for like intimacy. And not that you can't have intimacy with just that or something, but like emotional intimacy, like intellectual stimulation, you know, like I want those things in my loverships. And so
like sex is a pillar of it, but sex by itself doesn't maybe create that peak experience if there's not some level of vulnerability or ability to connect on another level besides just incredible, like the physical act of sex.
Yeah. And I certainly have had some loverships that have like lasted that have like, I mean, most of my loverships have been primarily sex focused, to be fair. I'm definitely not like demisexual or something, but I learned that like essentially, so what I'll mention with the bonobo piece is that like going to play parties and stuff, and still to this day, I mean, the play party scene is a big part of my community and social life. And I'm someone who just like doesn't have sex at parties very often. I'm curious and excited for the day that I have a partner to be in those spaces with, because I think that can change things, or even just like a lover that I am in those. But I don't know why, you guys, but I have almost primarily dated and have lovers outside of these communities, which is funny because most people join these communities to find people.
Yeah.
And I think I've just had this, like, once I got into like the bonobo community or whatever in the broader Bay Area, like poly community, I just started to be like, wait, these are like my friends and my people. And the amount that I was dating, I was like, I don't want to have all these like exes or like guys everywhere when I'm just trying to hang out with my friends at a party. And so I kind of had this mentality of like, don't shit where you eat, which is so ironic for that world. And I'm still kind of like that.
Yeah, I'm going to take a moment just to interject here and say I absolutely 1,000% promote this strategy because this is something as is in our community. So we, you know, people listening probably know we have a 300 plus person virtual community, and this is something we caution people about. And it's not to say don't form partnerships, because what other place are you going to meet people? Like, it's a great place to meet people that you're connected with, that you have depth with, all of the things.
Oh, for sure.
But on the flip side, exactly what you said is you start to, if you have 3, 4, 5 different, exes or partnerships that didn't last, and if you're still figuring out how to de-escalate or transition those, it starts to really cut out your main support. And that's what we tell people, like, if this is your main support system, don't maybe mess it up by doing that, or don't invite in your whole polycule. Because if you started by being like, I'm struggling here, 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 and and then all of a sudden all those people are in your community, and then we get messages like, well, I can't talk about anything that's going on with me because they're all in here. We're like,
Oh my God, I love this. I'm so glad you give that advice, because I feel kind of like unique in this. Like, I get kind of like lovingly like joked with about this with my friends. Like, I have so many of my friends who've like never met lovers that I've had for a couple years even.
yeah,
Because they're just lovers. Like, I don't know, not just lovers, but you know what I mean? Like, we don't hang out socially, we don't have overlap. And like
Mhm.
I've even thought about like, oh, like, do I bring them to a party? Like, and I'm just kind of like, and I think I will one day. But I think what you
Mhm.
mentioned actually really resonated, is that I think I knew somewhere in me, even though I wasn't like, somewhere my intuition knew that I didn't have the skills yet to, like you said, de-escalate, to like manage being in these settings, all the different feelings, and the amount that I was like dating and having sex with people. Like, it would have felt really messy and
Yep.
been really hard for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and
there's
not
something to that. Go ahead. No. I
No.
said there's something to that, like the hardness of that, and like you opt in. You can opt into it.
Yeah.
You, like, the conscious choice to doing that, I think, is what's
Yeah.
really important there. Like,
Yes.
let's just take a pause. Let's think about this a little bit more. And then it's not don't do it. It's just think about how to
Yeah.
handle it.
Well, and navigating non-monogamy relationships are hard by themselves, right? But non-monogamy often takes that to a new level. And you can get support from pretty much anywhere about your monogamous relationship. Is it going to be good advice or good support? Who's to say? But you can get it pretty much anywhere. But to go to somebody and say, I'm having a really hard time because I'm dating this guy and my partner is struggling, and then his partner, and you're like, most people are going to look at you like you got three heads. And so, like, finding a place where you can truly get support for the things that you're going through in non-monogamy is so valuable, that it's not don't do it, but just really think about, do you have a lot of other support? Because if you do, great. But
Great.
if
Yeah.
that is your only support system, I just caution people to, like, use it as your support system. You can meet people other places. And I love that you've
Yeah. I
been
love
doing
that.
that for years, and you've even today, you're like, I still do it that way. I just
Yeah.
think it's brilliant.
And to be fair, like, I have like dated, and I do have like some like people who I consider like, like play partner type people, like I like in community. But it's like, yeah, but it is, I do keep things relatively siloed still.
Yep.
Yeah.
As I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect science.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So yeah, dick funnel era starts to get old.
Did that for a little while.
Your fingers
Yeah.
tired. Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, and the thing is that I want to note that, like, I hate admitting, but it's just the truth, is that, like, I really want to be someone who can, like, not get attached and, like, have more casual sex and, like, have more casual lovers. And, like, I freaking, like, fall for people. And it's funny because it's like, I'm so, like, emotionally closed off to partnership. And, like, it's like, so to be fair, if this is helpful for people who know attachment styles, I am disorganized, which is what I have learned, and it is helpful. So I got a little bit of everything. It's very confusing to me and to people that are in relationships with me. Yeah. And, like, it's like, I'm like so scared of partnership, so scared of enmeshment, but then I'm like falling in love with someone and I'm like, but I want a little more of this, but, like, also not any of this. Like, I don't want you to meet any of my friends or, like, hang out with me. I don't want to do anything besides, like, hang out at our houses and have sex and cook dinner together and cuddle. But, like, can we do that twice a week instead of once? Like, and can you text me a little more? And, like, I don't know. It's so funny. And, like, it's complicated, and I poke fun at myself, but, like, because it's just real, and it's,
you just said it, like, it is complicated. It's complicated. We, like, humans are complicated, and then, like, disorganized attachment. I mean, attachment with.
I struggle to think there's an organized attachment.
Yeah.
If I'm being real honest, we're all just fucking around and trying to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think that, like, understanding some about our attachment patterns is helpful, but ultimately, yes, it's confusing and complex.
It is. And I don't like to like over identify or use attachment stuff too much because I've like went down that road and then it's like I can see how quickly we can like relate everything to that. And I don't think that's healthy or smart with any modalities that we have, right? They're tools, great, but like I'm also a human and so is everyone else, and it shifts. And where I like am today is allowing myself to be in the confusion, the complexity, and the longing that I like deeply desire to be in love and to be loved and to have, I mean, this is just the truth. Like I've gotten really clear. I want that so bad again. And I want it to include like the most hottest, exploratory, expansive, universe blasting sex life with them and other people. And I don't want it to feel enmeshed, and I don't want to move into a level of partnership that I'm not ready for. That's where I'm at. And I've been coached by one. I have a whole group of professional support, and a lot of my friends are coaches and therapists, which is great. But I am currently allowing myself to be in the longing of these things and how they kind of don't always make sense or aren't easy to have.
Yeah. Like one almost seems like it is in conflict with the other, right?
Exactly.
But I can still want both, and I can still long for both. That's really beautiful, Dani. Like,
and the beauty of polyamory is like, it is possible.
Right.
Yeah, it is. Oh man. I was just gonna say I'm excited to touch base in like 2 years and see where you're at.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm just curious how, and again, huge question here, but like how have you found strategies to sit in that longing, right? And not to say that I'm sure it's hard as hell. Like I'm assuming it's hard or not hard here. I'm just curious, like for you, what has worked for you so far in being able to sort of sit in that?
Yeah. This is a very new thing that I'm trying to do. This is a very new revelation in my therapy. And it is hard. It's really hard. I've been in a particularly dark night of the soul time in my life for a lot of reasons. I feel like I'm coming out of it a little right now, but I've had a lot of big transition this last year. I quit my job and career of 11 years.
Wow.
I left the corporate world because I want to create and do things in the world that I want to be on a podcast like this, and I couldn't be at my old job. And that's like literally it. Like I'm a storyteller, a writer, a speaker. And like, so I quit my job, lost all the financial security I've had for so long, ended different relationships, was living a little bit nomadically, recently moved into a community home with friends that is amazing, but I've only lived alone or with my husband my whole adult life.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I said I'm in my midlife crisis era, like I'm blowing shit up, and like this longing thing is just like, I'm living the exact life that I chose. Like I have handpicked everything. Like, It's like, I should be happy, right?
Yep.
And life doesn't always work that way. And so, to answer your question, being in the longing for me is as simple as allowing myself moments of like weeping in the shower.
Yeah.
That's like the best answer I have right now. Is like when I feel it, when it hits me, if I'm able to, I let myself go into the depths of the longing of what I want, the grief of what I don't have, the fear that I may never have the things that I long for.
Oh.
I have a lot of distrust and fear that like my dream partnership isn't possible. I still do.
Yeah. And when you're sitting in that, it's so, I mean, to just sit right in that discomfort, when you're in the dark night of the soul moments, or at least when I am, I just can't get out fast enough. And so to be able to say, I'm just going to sit here and cry in it and be in it, it sucks.
Yeah.
So,
it sucks. And I am not, so I don't know if you know the Enneagram.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'm a type 7. Our like whole thing is we're scared of being trapped in pain. Like we do everything to not feel pain.
Yeah.
So I've worked really hard the last 10, 12 years of allowing myself to feel things and be in the pain. And so for me, it might be a 5 minutes, but that feels like I did good work.
Yeah, it feels like decades. Totally.
And you did do good work.
I
That's
did.
the thing. Like,
And I did.
so much. No one wants to feel uncomfortable. Well, I mean, maybe some people, but it's like when you can, even for 5 minutes, and survive it and be like, oh, I made it through.
Yeah.
It's okay. That's
Yeah.
slowly teaches us that we can do it, right?
Yeah. And I guess, the thing I want to share, the other answer, besides let yourself weep in the shower or whatever, is for me, it's talking about it and sharing about it. Like, it's really important to me, both like with like my close friends and my people and my professional support, that I don't hide anything that comes along with this suffering that I have. But also I get a lot out of sharing it publicly and helping model. And like, I like the term like being a human permission slip to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's so powerful when somebody can come to you, when you can go to somebody else and share something vulnerable. I spent the morning crying in the shower, and they're like, hey, me too.
Yes.
Then you're not alone. They're not alone. You both win.
Yeah. I get like lovingly made fun of, maybe not always lovingly, that I share a lot on my Instagram. So if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, it's like, it's a real like shit show over there sometimes, but like in a beautiful way, I think, to me, because I just share a lot very vulnerably in real time. It's not polished, and I'm very raw, and that is by design. And I have people who are kind of like, wow, you share a lot. Like, oh, wow, that was blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, but if you knew the amount of messages that I get from, I'm talking the person that I barely knew in high school, who is just like, oh my God, I thought I was the only person going through that or felt that. Like, and it's not like a lot, but it's enough. And like, that is why I believe in being like a public, storyteller and whatever I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is.
That's why I love what you're doing, because this is what you're doing here. And that's like, it's it. Like, it's important. Yeah.
And it's so powerful. It's so powerful, because some of these things that you're talking about and that you probably share on Instagram and just in conversation are things that most people, we keep it locked away for so many reasons, right? It's hard to talk about, but also we're conditioned to know, not even to know, we're conditioned to believe that we shouldn't talk about this shit, that you should keep it inside because you're going to make somebody uncomfortable. And the reality is, when you can do it, what you learn is you might have made somebody uncomfortable, but you probably also made a whole lot of other people feel like they weren't alone.
Yeah.
And
so
you're speaking when other people might not feel safe to.
Yeah. And that's like, okay too.
Yeah.
Like, I want to I want to really drive that home, that like not everybody wants to, needs to, or should share as much publicly, vulnerably as I do. And that's fine. Like, if there's nothing, it's not like you're in hiding or like, I don't know, or whatever, right? Like, there's just all versions of it. It's just, I'm like, I had to listen to the voice that this is what I want to do in the world, right?
Yeah.
And I think like a piece I want to mention about the emotional thing, like sharing vulnerably, that feels related to polyamory, that I'm learning, is that I am someone who really likes to talk about my emotions and share them with people and share my process. And that is something that I appreciate, that like is a lot more common in the poly world and in the non-monogamy world. And what I want to also say is that like, it's also, a lot of people still suck at it. Like, there's like this idea that like, oh, because we're poly, people are going to be better at like communicating, talking about emotions. And like, it's not actually always the case. And so I don't know, I guess it's like a warning that like, we're all just humans. And, and just because someone has 5 partners doesn't mean have a high emotional intelligence and are great communicators.
Your number of partners doesn't come with your level. It's not like, well, I'm a level 4, I can now have 4. It's like it's the Wild West in many ways.
Yes.
And so I think there's often a chance that people are maybe more aware, or maybe care about it in a different way, but to say, I mean, again, we're all still humans, and we can think we've got it all figured out, and then we get smacked upside the head, and our world comes upside down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more like piece that I just feel like I really want to share.
Let's do it. Yeah, we got all the time in the world. We control this. Nobody runs our shit. So let's do it.
Great. I like it. So a big piece of my polyamory is the like fluidity of relationships. And that like I have this thing where, like I said at the beginning, I don't want I like it's okay for relationships to end, and we should like be accepting of that. Like I literally said this many years before I got divorced. Like I was always like, I'm pro-divorce. Like I come from parents who should have gotten divorced, you know, like, and they stuck it for the family, and they've both said that. And it's like, oh my God, I think everyone would have been so much happier. You know, there's so much of that. So I am like pro divorce, whatever. But I have a hard time and have a desire to stay in connection with people that I care about and have had connection with. And so that's like where we talk about like de-escalations or evolutions of relationships. And I think that's something that I'm still like learning and finding my way with. But it's like when someone that I've been dating or just like been more in a romantic sexual relationship with, even within the framework of non-monogamy, there sometimes is this like, okay, well, that's ending. Like, okay, it's done now. Like, that's it. Like, where it's over. And that to me is like pretty binary and like a somewhat monogamous like approach. And I'm guilty of it too, because so often these are people I don't have like lots of other ways to connect with. And I'm like, well, we're not really friends. Like we just hung out once or twice a month and had great sex. Like, what are we going to try to be friends? And sometimes it doesn't make sense. So it's not about like forcing it. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that some of my most beautiful evolving like friendships and like soul connections have come from people who were lovers and no longer are. And that is like something that I think is a gift that I love that like is not as acceptable in the monogamous world, especially if you have a new partner. Like, why are you friends with your ex, or why are you still you know? And fuck that. And my husband was never like that. We were never like that. Like that was never a thing in our relationship. But yeah, I don't know. I want to note that because it's been such a rich part. I found some of my favorite and best like family is what I want to say, you know, friends that are family, because they were someone that I met on Tinder.
Yeah.
And then we realized that's not how we should be connected.
Yeah. That fluidity and ability to transition relationships without just cut and run, right? Like, wait, there's something here, but maybe we didn't find it quite right the first time. Yeah.
It was amazing. I'm so glad we got to talk today, Dani. And I believe pretty confidently that you'll be back on the show at some point in the not too distant future. So maybe this is a good place to sort of talk a little bit, give you a little more time to talk about some of the work you do, how people can find you. Again, links will be in the show notes, so you don't have to like read out your whole website. But what can people sort of expect when they find you?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm a coach. I love working with people going through life transitions because, as you can see, I've got a real good track record of doing that.
Got some practice.
Yep. And I'm also a ritualist, so like I love working with people in creating more ritual and ceremony in their lives. That's something I'm really, really passionate about. And then I think, my podcast, another way. It's like a huge passion project. I love it. And it's all about just talking about different ways of living. It's essentially what I wish I had maybe back in the day, like introducing people to just different things, different topics that maybe aren't the norm. And I have a Substack that I recently started. Like I said, I'm a writer. And so a lot of like personal essay stuff. So I'm really excited about my Substack. A lot of stuff is going to be coming out there. And my Instagram is just a place that you get the real raw shit. It might be entertaining. It might, who knows? Maybe sometimes I think it's a little insightful. Yeah. And so those are the big ones that I think I want to share. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, again, links are in the show notes so everybody can find that. And please do.
Yes.
And-
yes. Thank you so much for this conversation today. It's been absolutely wonderful. And it's so lovely to get to know you too. And I'm excited to see you at events as well.
Yes.
Is there anything else before we let you go that you'd like to get out there today?
I would like to say just that everyone just keep doing your best. This isn't for the faint of heart, any of it. Being human isn't for the faint of heart, but choosing unconventional paths, all of it is just keep at it. Keep following your, like, whatever your different North Stars and voices are. Like, I'm just a believer in that. And, just keep on trucking.
Yeah, I love that. When you said, like, just keep, and you're like, you know what, just being human is, I'm like, exactly. Like, just that, like, every day we get up, whether we're in a relationship of any kind or not, like, you won. You got up in the morning, and maybe you got out of bed, maybe you didn't. Either way, you're still doing a great job.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Dani.
Thank you.
It was wonderful to talk today, and we look forward to the next time.
And we're back. Thank you, Dani, for coming on, for sharing your story, and for all of the incredible work that you do. A quick reminder, go check out all of Dani's work. The links are in the podcast show notes in your podcast player or at our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. And don't forget to check out the Bonobo Network and the upcoming Bonobo Retreat over Memorial Day weekend, May 23rd to the 26th, 2025.
We're going to be there.
We are.
And we want to see you there.
Yes.
We're going to be hanging out in the woods, having a good time.
Yes, we are.
Next week, we're coming back at you with another fantastic interview. Next week, we got Holly on the show. Super amazing. Cannot wait to tell you about it. Come back next week. We'll be here. We hope you are too.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.